What's up, y'all? Carmen Chloe of Single Married Widow, and this is video number 4 of the 4-part series Single Married Widow, where I share with you guys some of the intimate details of how I became a widow and some of the transitions that me and my children went through immediately after, and how my life was literally reading like a best-selling novel. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about how I began to feel like Abraham, and I felt like I was on a pilgrimage to a new land. So my brother and my cousin, they come to Georgia to come and get me and my children. We were following behind them in our car, but I had some things that I needed to them to help me to move back to Florida. And then because I'm a woman and I have 2 small children, my uncles and my mom and my brothers, they weren't really feeling us getting on the road by ourselves. And to me, that was kind of like the spirit of my late husband, because he was very overprotective of us in certain ways. So it was kind of like, just wait until we can come and get you. We don't want you on the road by yourself with 2 children. You're a woman with 2 kids. You don't need to be driving. So I was like, okay, I get it. And I appreciate the love and the protection and all of that. And to me, it was also a way of God telling me, even though our earthly protection and covering had left us, that he still had people, males in my family who loved me, care about me and my children, and who I could trust, that would make sure that we were straight and that we were covered and that we were protected. So I was appreciative of that. So my brother and my cousin, they come to help us on this pilgrimage to a new land, even though, you know, I'm born and raised in Florida. It's like a new land because I hadn't lived in Miami in 14 years. I did not want to move to Florida, especially not the area that I grew up in Miami, Florida. But I knew it was something that I needed to do in that season, especially since God allowed for just everything that transpired in Georgia, even up until the point to where I literally was pushed out of my family's home and we were staying in a hotel temporarily. Like, I knew that that's just what I had to go through for that season, regardless of me not wanting to be there, regardless of me not, you know, having these different feelings about Miami and where I came from. So my grandmother's home that I grew up in was vacant. It was empty. Because she was recovering from hip surgery and from a heart attack. So she was staying with my mom. She had broken her hip like the October before my husband passed away. And I remember, you know, crying on his shoulder because my grandmother had fell and broken her hip and she was up in age and I was concerned about it. I remember him hugging me and consoling me, and for him to pass away like literally 2 months after that, it was just really a perspective shift on how precious time is and how not a moment is guaranteed to any of us, regardless of age. So my grandmother was living with my mom, recovering from hip surgery. She had a heart attack while I was staying at my family's house in between the time that my husband passed away and all of that. She wasn't able to come to his funeral because she was recovering from all of that. So when she had the heart attack, I really was like, oh my God, I got to get to Florida. Like, you know, let me put all of my feelings of like, I don't want to go to Miami. I hate Miami aside. Let me get to Florida. I believe that's another reason why God allowed for things to happen for us to go to Florida. So we're living in my grandmother's vacant house. We have a house, you know, to ourselves. Again, it's the house that I grew up in. Very comfortable 3-bedroom house, a yards bigger than the yards that they put in like these new houses now. The house is not glued all on top of each other, but again, not really, you know, excited about going back to that area. I was thankful to be living in her house, but I knew that it was only temporary, just like it was when I was living in my family's house in Georgia. So as I said, I was beginning to feel like Abraham when he kept having to pick up his tent and move where God was leading him to, because once I got to my grandmother's house, and I was able to really like sit still for a moment, I knew that it was just for a season. I knew that it wasn't meant for me to get comfortable. I knew that eventually my children and we would be picking up and leaving again. I just didn't know where. So in tomorrow's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about how, just like Abraham, I picked up my tent yet again to move, and some of the latter transitions that happened while in Florida that actually got me to the point where I'm at now. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me on this series. I would love to hear your comments, your feedback, your takeaway. If you'd like to share bits and pieces of your story, I pray that something that I've shared resonates with you and gives you whatever it is that you may need in this season to help grieve, to help heal, to help to tell your story, your testimony, and to be free. So I will see you guys on the next video. Peace, y'all.